Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Dirty and Driven Podcast. My name is James DeVinny. I am your host on this fine show. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Before I introduce him, I just want to tell you a little bit about us. This is the Dirty and Driven Podcast, where our mission is to bring people to the blue-collar world, teach them how to kick ass. We want to make the best, strongest, smartest, most killer individuals on the planet out of regular old blue-collar people. Why? Because blue-collar people are amazing, and we need more blue-collar people because every single one of us relies on blue-collar people. You don't get to flush your toilets. You don't get to turn on your lights. You don't get to sit in your cush office. You don't get any of this nice stuff without blue-collar people. But we also want to make the people in the trades better. We want to make the trades more efficient. We want to make them the best industry to work in possible. Our mission is to gain, train, and retain people in the blue-collar world. Today, I'm joined with a guy who's way smarter than me. His name is EJ Herron. He runs the Instagram page, Dig It Digital GPS. Check him out. You won't regret it. He talks about so much cool stuff, technology and construction, different ways that we can utilize it. He has a great journey. He's been an engineer for Caterpillar. He's been an owner of his own excavation company for 11 years. And then he got into the technology side of things, and he's just a whiz at construction technology. Really awesome. And I think that you guys are going to enjoy the conversation. I just want to say, before we begin, be sure to follow us at Dirty and Driven. Follow EJ at Dig It Digital GPS. That will be in the show notes. If you like the show, please leave it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. And also, if you like it, if you gain value from it, remember that we do the show for free. So if you feel it in your heart to put a tip in the tip jar, you can click on the link in our show notes. And you can leave as little as $1. I mean, surely if you listen to this podcast, you'll gain $1 of value out of it. So consider dropping $1 in the tip jar for us. We'd greatly appreciate it. It just all goes to improving the show, making it better. And lastly, if you want a free sticker, just send us a message, the word sticker, email it, DM it, connect with us on our website. And we would love to give you a free sticker. However, we need to do that for free anywhere in the world. I'll send it. Anyways, guys, that's enough of me yammering on. Here is the show. Yeah, disconnects happen at times. I've recorded with some people where we got disconnected like 5 times, and it's just it's hell on editing.
Yeah, you got to have a good editor, right?
Yeah, and all we've got is me, so not quite the good editor.
You're learning your skill.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it can be fun. What podcast was that?
It was for Ken Rusk. It's going to be on the Blue Collar Cash podcast.
Yeah, I know Ken. He was on our show a couple months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Neat. Yeah,
I like Ken. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, down to earth, really easy to talk with, and doing great things. Yeah,
he was a pleasure to talk to, and I read his book too. It was a good book.
Yeah,
real practical stuff. Yeah, man. Well, obviously I follow you, but I don't really know what you do. What all do you do?
Well, my day job is selling Trimble equipment at a SciTech. So I'm at SciTech South in Atlanta, Georgia. Cool. And I am out and about working with contractors, trying to, help them with their business and figure out what best technologies go on their equipment, help them be more profitable and
Selling GPS equipment, basically, huh?
Yeah, anything technology related to the job site. So GPS, UTS, lasers, drones, scanners.
Wow. What is UTS?
It's with a total station. So
Oh,
like a
okay.
robotic total station.
Wow. And you got drones. So, okay, I'm curious about that because I see drones in construction, but like in the asphalt business where I work, I don't see a lot of them.
Hmm.
What are the different applications for drones on a construction site?
Well, primarily, getting the topography of the site.
Hmm.
So let's say a proposed site has X amount of elevation. The engineers going off of that, a map that maybe somebody did years ago, or they went out and shot it with, some survey guys, but they put the elevation lines maybe 50 feet apart.
Hmm.
With a drone, when you fly a drone, you're actually getting every inch, with a photo, and then that's manipulated into ground surfaces, and then it tells you exactly what the existing surface is. So then you can overlay those with like a finished grade surface, or you can monitor your progress of the site as you're working throughout the week and see what your cut and fills are going to be, you know, based off of what the plan calls for.
Huh. Okay. That's pretty neat. So mainly surveying applications.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. That's cool.
It gives them real time information, so they can make decisions. If they want to raise the building pad a foot, maybe they can minimize hauling off dirt, or if they have to, you know, maybe cut a pond down a little deeper to gain some more material on site rather than haul it in.
Yeah. So they're basically able to, instead of going out there and shooting it by hand and calculating everything out and it taking forever to do, they can just fly a drone over it and get information way quicker.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're minimizing guys walking on a site for the full day, probably most sites. Setting up, walking the site, taking shots. Whereas you could fly with the drone in a matter of setting up and doing an hour's worth of drone flight, get all that data, take it back
Wow.
to the office, and get it all calculated.
That's cool. That's really cool. How'd you get
Yeah.
into selling that type of stuff?
Oh, long story.
We got
I
time.
oh yeah. So my previous role was at Caterpillar. So I'm from Peoria, Illinois.
Oh,
Grew
cool.
up in Chillicothe, Illinois, just north of Peoria. And so I worked at Cat for 16, 17 years, and I was in the technology group. So I learned about technology there, grade control and product link and payload systems. So that kind of made me more interested in using the systems and getting some more hands-on applications. So then the SciTech job opened up in Georgia, and my family, we always liked Georgia. It's a pretty cool state. So we decided to move, and that's what I've been doing for a little over 6 years now.
Been at it a while, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So you go from cat to that. So do you have background in earth moving and all that before that even?
Well, yeah. So I did own an excavating business for 11 years. I
Oh, wow.
started when I was young. I uh, started with a Bobcat, just 24 years old, and thought I would do some side work because I was working at CAT at the time doing engineering work.
Hmm.
What more fun could that be? Is work on designing these big pieces of equipment and then go out and play on machines. On the weekends
Yeah.
and at night. So yeah, I started a little business and it grew. Did little residential work and driveways, footings, water hookups, sewer hookups, and then eventually grew that.
Wow. How big did you end up growing that?
I had it at one time. I think 7 guys that worked for me,
Wow.
and we did mostly a lot of residential basements, some apartments, some housing developments, apartment developments,
Hmm.
just within the hour of Peoria.
Wow. So what did you grow up with, a parent or somebody in the industry, or grow up around it, or how did you decide that you just were going to go out and start your own deal?
I think just being around Peoria, Illinois, and that's the home of Big Yellow. So I
Yeah.
seen a lot of cat machines out there, and
Yeah.
had some family members that were entrepreneurs. They were kind of like residential contractors, handyman, and
Hmm.
my dad drove a semi truck ever since I could remember when I was little. I used to go ride with him every once in a while, and I always liked trucks and liked diesel, like tractors, and also had some family in Georgia that owned, or they still do own, a pipeline business. So got to see that, and I thought, well, maybe that's something I could do. I just get a little more hands on. I didn't go to school, and I wanted to see if I could better myself and better my career, by my own hard work, basically.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So you did that for 11 years and then you decided to make a switch. What was going on through your head there?
Well, it wasn't really my decision. It was through the recession that we had from
Mm,
2008 till 2010. Into 2010, that's when I got out of it.
yeah.
It was really tough trying to get jobs and just make things meet, with everything going on. But I was offered another job at Cat, so it was like, well, it was a guaranteed paycheck, and there's just so many things going on at the time, trying to get work and keep the guys busy, keep the equipment running. At the time it was almost worth nothing. Nobody was buying any equipment at the time because they didn't need it. There was no work. So
Yeah.
I decided to close that and start a new chapter at Cat. And thought, well, it was good experience for me. I could always pick it up in the future if I wanted to. It's something that I learned. Somebody always told me that they can't take that skill away from you. Once you learn it, I try and instill that in my kids. Try and tell them, whatever you learn now, it's good experience, and you can carry it with you into other jobs. So it did go
Yeah.
with me with my Caterpillar job because I was able to understand what contractors were doing each day, what their pain points were, and why technology might make their jobs a little bit easier. Them able to perform the work at a better quality, uh, better uh, performance on the job, and get it done on time.
Yeah. Dude, I love that point that you just made, that no one can ever take that skill away from you. That's something that I love talking about with like high school, college age kids is, even if you're going to go to school, even if you're going to go do all this stuff, like no matter what your plan is, it's so good to just go and learn some of these trade skills because they're hard skills, meaning they're they're real life. I mean, you can learn all the computer skills you want to learn, but it's going to be irrelevant in a couple of years. And
Exactly.
if you learn hard skills, man, you can use those for a long, long time. I mean, plumbing, electrical work, digging holes. I mean, all that is, even if you go into accounting or banking or something completely different like that, it's still good just to have some skills.
hmm Yeah, I started working in high school at my grandpa's Ace Hardware,
Hmm.
and it just, like, I didn't know anything about hardware or like doing construction work, but the products that they sold in their store, it was like, well, I'm going to learn what each thing was, and electrical, plumbing, lumber, just kind of what they're used for. And yeah, as a high school kid, I was like, I could maybe do some of this. So after my wife and I were married, I think we were 23, 24 years old. We decided to build a house. We bought a lot, and we just thought, well, we're going to build this. And I had a couple uncles that were willing to help, and they did construction like full time. They loved what they were doing, and they were very talented. They could do framing and masonry work, electrical, plumbing. So I tried to do as much as I could. And they were kind of influential on me trying to get my excavating business running. They're like, oh, yeah, you could do this. People need that kind of work done. And at the time, I didn't know anything about moving dirt, what types of gravel there was. And I just thought, well, if so-and-so could do it, why couldn't I?
Yeah.
Or driving a truck and dumping a load of gravel, spreading it out. I just learned as I was doing it, just the same as somebody would learn how to do construction work, framing a house or being an apprentice to do plumbing and electrical. So
yeah.
I read a lot of books too at the time. Nothing was on the internet. You couldn't just go to YouTube and search how to dig footings.
Right. So you started your own company before you knew how to do any of that, huh?
Yeah, it was kind of like learn as you go and get a job. And I remember doing a couple of sewer jobs, and I was like, well, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. Or what kind of pipe this sewer line's going to take, but we'll dig it out and then we'll figure out what we need to go get.
They call that on-the-job training.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There was one time I was doing a basement. I was digging it with a backhoe, and I also had to do the water and sewer hookup. And for some reason, you call in your utility locates, and they come out and they paint it and they flag it and everything. Well, I had to dig over where there was an electrical line buried, and to get to the sewer hookup, it was like, I don't know, late in the day. I'm just out there by myself trying to dig in, to get to the sewer hookup, and I accidentally hit the power line. Well, they had it marked. It has probably like 3 foot off of where the line was marked on the paint.
Classic.
So, and they still were telling me, well, it's your fault. You shouldn't be hitting this, and you got to dig around it. I was like, well, I've got the line here showing where you guys marked it out, and I'm digging over here. I didn't expect the line to be over here. So, I killed power for like the whole subdivision. And they come out, they fixed it. And then the guy was talking to me, and it was like, okay, we understand what's going on. I said, okay, well, I've got the sewer line and a water line to hook up. Make sure everything's marked correctly. And so, they did. They marked it all out again. And the next day, I went back to do the water line, and I was digging on the other side of the lot. It was like, I guess it would be 2 streets on the corner, like a corner lot. Mm-hmm. So I was digging on the other street for the water line hookup. No lines painted on the ground, but I hit power again.
Oh, they didn't even have those marked, huh?
They didn't have it marked. So about a week later, I think we got a bill in the mail from the power company for the repairs. And I called them up and talked to the supervisor. And they said, yeah, it's some kid out there was digging, and I don't think he knew what he was doing. I was like, well, that was me.
Guilty.
Yeah, but at the same time, your guys didn't mark the lines where they should have been located. So they cut me some slack and let it go.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Sometimes, man, I've gone round and round with those utility companies before, and like there was one time that they came out and they said, yep, this is a dead line, and it was 6 foot over from their live line. Well, they didn't mark their live line either, because they thought that there was just one line and it was dead, but there was 2 lines and one was dead and one was alive. And so we hit the live one, and then they were like, oh, nope, it's your fault. We're like, no.
Well, that just taught me, get a shovel out and just be really careful. Because we've ever since then, digging so many different utility hookups, we would find, I found a 6-inch gas line that they didn't mark. That was about 10 feet in the ground. And I was like, where did this come from? Is this the sewer? Nope, it's a gas line.
Wow.
Good thing I didn't hit that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The gas company usually is pretty, of all of them, they're usually the ones that are pretty right on, but
Yeah.
wow. Can't believe they missed that. Yeah, that's where it's good to definitely know. Like whenever I first got in the industry, I never thought of like what to look for to notice those utility lines or anything. I mean, just to give you some clues.
Yeah.
It's definitely a skill worth learning, just kind of to figure out where lines could be.
Yeah. How the dirt's changed, different colors, just watching the soil,
Mm-hmm.
looking for tape, looking for
Yeah.
evidence of, something being trenched in.
Yeah, if you're working by a building or by, a box or something, you kind of look for subtle clues of like, oh, okay, there might be a sewer line running this way because there's a clean out here and there's a manhole over here, and, put two and two together kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you knocked out power for a subdivision twice. I bet they weren't too happy about that.
Yeah. Well, I did get to go back and work on some other jobs there, so I guess it wasn't too bad.
That's good. Huh. That's funny. And that's cool that even though you didn't really know what you were doing there, I think that there's value in that you just said, I can figure it out. I can do it. And, obviously doing that for yourself, you probably made a few expensive mistakes that you have to pay for rather than somebody else's dime. But
oh yeah,
hey, you still did it.
Yeah, it gave me some experience. And then there was this one time where we were digging a sewer line hookup, and we had to go underneath of a 36-inch gas transmission line. And it was funny because the power company sends a crew out. They want to know exactly when we're going to dig, and they want to be there on hand in case it's nicked or anything like that, because they have to repair it. And I was like, well, why don't you guys just dig through this? It's your line. I don't want to damage it. They're like, no, we're going to watch you. I was like, but if you hit it, we're all gone. I was like, seriously? You're going to scare me like this?
That's funny. I think the most scared I ever got, I hate electricity. Electricity scares the crap out of me. And I was digging by, you're probably familiar with Ditch Witch.
Yeah.
It was their headquarters. And they had I don't even remember what they said. Electricity words don't mean much to me, but I think they said like a 12,000 volt line running right there. It was the main power line to Ditch Witch.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't marked because they had no idea where it was, because those buildings were built like kind of just one piece at a time. They built like one building, then they already had blueprints for one building. So they used the same blueprints and just moved it over to the end and then built another building with the same blueprints. And then they didn't mark where a lot of their lines
Somebody
were.
just threw that line in and buried it and said, yeah, that's good.
A company that specializes in locating lines, and they didn't know where their own lines were. It was kind of funny. But they were pretty cool. But we were digging. I was a laborer in the hole, and then excavator just kind of barely nicked that thing, and we were like, shit, what is that? And we get looking, we're like, ooh, I think that's an electric line.
Don't touch it.
Yeah, we get their people out there, and they're like, yeah, y'all better tread lightly, because if you hit that line, we're all liable to blow up from that thing right there.
Oh, man. Wow.
There's a lot of power running through there. I was scared, too. I was like in the hole, and I was like, damn, dude.
Yeah, because if you do hit power, it'll spark, and, sometimes it'll blow the bucket off of a machine.
Yeah, I think this power line very well would have done that. It was a big line.
Yeah.
It was scary. But yeah, that's I don't know. That's the fun stuff that you learn. It always amazes me. It's crazy how much stuff is just buried underneath us all the time.
Oh yeah, that's where there's a lot of work that needs to be done. All the utilities need to be updated. You think about all these cities that have old storm sewer systems. Some of them are combined, sanitary overflows into the storm.
Yeah.
Wooden water lines, I don't know what's under the ground, but
wooden water lines. I don't know what I've heard of that one.
You imagine that, how they used to make water lines with wood?
That's insane.
Yeah, but I mean that seems like there's a lot of opportunity for us to revitalize that.
There's a lot of smaller towns, especially, that are finally, at least in my area, they're finally getting grants and stuff that, they have water lines from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're finally starting to update them. I mean, that's crazy that there's water lines out there that are 100 years old and still feeding people water. And a lot of those lines are just disgusting when you think about it.
Yeah, they could be leaking different places. And
yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in the utility game. I mean, you look at a lot of the stuff that was built way back when, and it's a whole different ball game now. And a lot of that stuff needs to be updated. Otherwise, it's just going to keep getting worse. And then it's going to get to a point where it's like, now what? This line is full of patches and holes and leaks, and doesn't even work very well anymore.
Yeah, hard to get to them too with all the development that's on top.
Yeah, for sure. Huh. Wow, dude. So that's a cool story. I like how you just dove in head first and said, let's do this. And then what did you say your role at CAT was?
Well, I had 2 different times at CAT. The first one was in engineering. So I was kind of hands-on doing drafting work. I learned how to run AutoCAD at a small steel fabrication shop. And then I decided to try and move up and get towards Caterpillar because I knew that there was a lot of engineers that work at CAT. And they taught me the 3D modeling called Pro Engineer. That's what they used at the time. It was like back when, I don't know, they started putting computers at desks. Some people had computers and some didn't. They sent me to a lot of classes where I could learn the system, learn how to do drafting and read blueprints. Didn't go to school for any type of engineering, but I just kind of learned on the job. And I was, when I first started there, I was thinking, man, I don't know if I could work here as long as some of these other people, because I was like 20 years old. And thinking, am I going to be working here for like 45 years? Because back in the day, a lot of people that I knew, they started at Caterpillar and they had a whole career until they were 65, and then they decided to retire. A lot of the engineers that work at Caterpillar have several years under their belt. So I was fortunate that they took me in. I trained there. I learned how to do a lot of engineering work, mostly in the cab and like the structures of a machine cab operator station. I did a lot of wiring design and the harnesses that were inside the cab, and then a lot of sheet metal work and designing how it functioned. And then, I started my business kind of while I was there still, and juggling both jobs at the same time. And eventually I decided, I either have to try and go for it full time, do my job, excavating work full time, or give it up, because I can't continue to do both. It was just draining, trying to work full time, do my other job full time. And at the time we had a small baby. I think our oldest was maybe 1 or 2 years old at the time. So juggling family life. So that was my first adventure at CAT. After I left the business, I went back to CAT into engineering again, and it was in fuel systems, which was, I didn't have any experience with fuel systems. And I was kind of frank with the manager who hired me. I was very thankful that he did, because, I didn't have anything to go to. I told him the only thing I knew about fuel was I put in my machines every day, and I was just cranking the key and hoping that it would fire up. But we ended up doing a lot of debris analysis there, testing of the fuel injectors, watching how the fuel pumps worked, and trying to clean the fuel up a lot better so that we could meet emissions. From there, I went to the marketing group, and that's where they used me in the technology role that I was in. So I was a global marketing consultant for Cat Connect products, which was like grade payload, the off-board telematic systems and safety systems. So I was able to use a lot of my excavating experience and my contracting experience to relate to the customers who are out there actually using the products, and what they thought the technology should do and how it should function. Try and then take that to the various product groups and have a voice for the customers.
Wow. That's kind of a jump for you. You go from engineering to operating to engineering again to marketing.
Yeah. But, it was always something to do with heavy equipment. So,
Yeah.
Relatable.
Yeah. Huh. That's cool, man. And, I've met some great engineers that don't have a degree that says engineer on it. And that's what you did.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a degree to do it.
No, I had a lot of people that helped me. They would calculate things for me or show me how to do it, how to figure out a calculation. And for the most part, even then, the computer system would tell you, if it's going to be possible to manufacture that piece or whatever item that you're trying to work on. You put it through stress analysis, and see, okay, well, if this vibrates so much, where is it going to crack and fail? It was pretty neat.
Yeah. It's cool that you had the equipment operating experience to go with that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do they get very many people like that were operators at one point and now they're designing machines?
No, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool that you had that perspective and you could say, well, actually, here's things that I like or things that need to change on these machines from an operator's perspective.
Yeah, I know once in a while that CAT does get some operators and they do work up, that from maybe working for a contractor and then they'll go to be a demo operator or work and do training and then work for the product groups. So that experience is just very valuable. It's great to have under your belt. Makes you more competent on what you're trying to bring to the table. People listen to you.
Wow. So what did you do as a global marketer?
Well, that was a job that basically looked at the customer's input, the CAT dealership input on how the technology should be sent out from the factory. Do we price it at a certain amount of dollars? What are the features that are needed? How is the customer going to use it? What kind of other technology are we looking at adding to the machines? What's in the market today? And what's the competition doing? I did a lot of research with the competition to see, what they were doing. At the time it was everybody wanted to have a dozer that had technology on it coming from the factory, from the factory directly out to the job site.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, how does Caterpillar have a system that would work and function for every operator or every company to make it easy for them to use technology? Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty neat. So you learned about technology there and then you made your shift to selling Trimble equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. Because actually Trimble is in a joint venture with CAT. So it's called CTCT. So they develop a lot of things together. And what comes from the factory is actually Trimble products. And so now at SciTech, we can add that on aftermarket and, help bring other Trimble products onto various OEMs like John Deere and Komatsu and Liebherr, whatever else the contractor's using.
Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, and it seems like a lot more people are using Trimble nowadays. Whenever I first got in, everyone in the area used like TopCon where I'm at, and so that's what I have most of my experience in. But I've started getting around Trimble a little bit more. It's definitely a cool cool program.
It's good equipment. All of them do basically the same thing. It's just how it's built and what software it's using. Basically, user interface is a big thing. You want your system to be easily used and picked up by the operator. So he's not fumbling around, pushing buttons and trying to figure out what he's trying to make the machine do. You want it to be an easy interface so that they can basically do their job, get it done.
Yeah, and it makes things way more efficient. What's always surprised me from day one and from my time in the industry is how open people actually are to technology once they get their hands on it and figure it out.
Oh, yeah, that's like one of the biggest hurdles. When I first started in this job, I would talk about technology, and it was probably partly my fault and partly them maybe not wanting to listen to me. But coming from a white collar job at CAT, now I'm out on the field talking about technology. Sometimes I was just like way too high over their head. I needed to bring it down to their level and just say, look, what kind of problems are you having every day? And then I'd listen to them and they'd say, well, I don't have enough operators, or this grading application takes me too long. I need 3 guys to do this parking lot grade. I can't afford to spend 5 days on it, or I'm using too much rock, on this job, and I need to cut my costs down. So when I dialed it down and I started talking about some of the things that they could benefit from technology, they started thinking about it. It's like, okay, well, maybe I can change from using string lines and blue tops to now using a GPS system. And really, to win them over, it was the demos. I would start demoing equipment to these guys who'd never used it or never been on a machine that had it. They heard about it, but once they actually jumped in the seat and started using it, pushing dirt, they said, wow, I can't believe that we've not had this before.
Yeah, it makes it a lot nicer. I was surprised, like my first time on a road job moving dirt. I remember getting in and I was with an old school foreman, and he was running the GPS, and I was like, so what do you think about the GPS? Because it was a little bit older model at the time. It probably wasn't near as older of a model, but he goes, oh shit, man, I couldn't do this job without it anymore. I was like, really? I was like, you really? He goes, oh yeah, dude. He goes, it's awesome. Always has been ever since we started using it. And I was like, oh, and that was like, whenever this guy told me that, I mean, this is a guy who doesn't even know what an iPhone is.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there talking about it like that. I was like, oh, okay, this stuff's probably legit then.
Oh, yeah. And most of those guys, they've been operating for 10, 20 years. You respect them because they can see grade, they can feel it. But then once they start using the technology, it just makes them like super operators. They're like on steroids now because they can do their work so much better and easier. But don't take it away from them, because then they don't want to go back to the old ways. It's too much work, and a lot of times you're not staking a job out anymore. So you got to rely on the technology, especially moving forward with these young guys. It's like, I think they want the technology because they don't have the experience. They want to jump right into operating equipment. So what better way to do it than to just, get in a machine that's got GPS on it, that it's helping guide them. It's really teaching them how to actually cut the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's becoming more and more prevalent, which, I'm sure some would argue that that's not a great thing because of how reliant we're becoming on it. But, I mean, really and truly, with labor shortages and just a workforce gap where people are retiring, we've got to get more people in and trained up. And we're going to have to rely on technology, frankly, in order to have competent enough operators to keep the dirt moving.
Yeah, it's not going away. I mean, technology is involved in our lives with everything.
Yeah.
So I think for a while, the construction industry has actually been lagging behind up until now, with the GPS, or, we were using lasers for quite a while. I use lasers for my business, but everybody else was getting more and more into technology, like manufacturing and, mostly manufacturing, I guess, using robots and automation systems like CAD programs to try and design things. And you got the dirt guys out there trying to lay it out with paint and string lines and tape measures.
Well, you look at it and you can go to, they have like McDonald's now. That's totally, everything is robots. There's not even a person that like works in there. There might be one that kind of manages it, but everything else is like robots, or like an Amazon warehouse has so many like roles that are done by robots and stuff, which is why I like construction, because it's still people doing the work, which I love. But also, you see all this technology in all these other industries, and it's like, why can't we apply it to something like roads and utilities and stuff like that everybody uses? Why can't we make this industry more efficient by utilizing that? And I think people are finally starting to catch on to that.
Yeah, that's what technology is doing. It's helping to speed things up. Like just a contractor who uses a base station and a rover, before, they would have to call the surveyor out to lay everything out on the job site and create, stake out the sewer lines, stake out the curb lines. Now they can do a lot of that themselves. They could verify, all their measurements just with the rover. They're not waiting 2 or 3 days for the surveyor to get out there. They can go measure it, keep on working.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. And I'm glad that people are catching on. I mean, I know that it is a little expensive to get into some of that stuff, but I've never talked to a contractor who spent the money on it and said, well, this wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I joke with some guys sometimes. They're like, well, it is expensive. I can't really afford it right now. And I look at them, I say, well, you just bought that brand new pickup truck over there. That's a depreciating asset. How much is that? Oh, it was $80,000. I'm like, okay, well, my system's like $100,000, dozer and base and rover, and it's going to make you money. I said,
yeah,
you get what you want. You're going to pay for what you want. You have to really believe in the system. You have to really trust in the technology, and you got to use it. There's a little bit of a scare that if they buy into it, they may not use it. It's, wasted money. It just sits in the closet somewhere. But somebody who's ambitious and wants to learn it, they can really, excel at their business and change for the better. I've had several guys that were stuck kind of in the small jobs. They bought the technology and started bidding bigger jobs that they thought they couldn't handle before. Mm-hmm. And it's really just made their business take off.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I would love to see our industry do better, is make things more efficient for people. I mean, I even posted a deal on it yesterday on Instagram, is like, if you have more efficiency, then you can probably get stuff done, like you said earlier, with less people. If you're more efficient, you can work less hours, or you can work the same amount of hours and get way more shit done in a day. Like, I feel like we just prioritize like hard work all the time, but like we don't prioritize smart work all the time.
Yeah, you got to create a work-life balance for your employees. So the technology can help do that. They don't want to be there every day for 12 hours and then work Saturdays for 12 hours. They want to spend some time with their family.
Yeah.
So,
or even if like on my post, that's what I said, and someone did comment, well, what about us out of town guys? Like, whenever I'm out of town, I don't want to be in the hotel. And okay, yeah, I get that. But you can get that job done, say, days, weeks, maybe even months sooner if you work more efficiently. So then, yeah, you're still away from home. You're still working long hours, but now you're only on this job for 6 months instead of 7 months. I mean, just throwing numbers out there, but I think that working more efficiently is going to be the way of the future because we just don't have the people on standby like this industry's always had.
Yeah, or people that can run the machines.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Maybe it would take 4 or 5 machines to get a certain job done, but now with technology, maybe you can get it done with 2 or 3. You're flexible, or maybe you send those other machines to another job to help out. So just creates more opportunity.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, like for your guys that let's say you got a smaller excavation company, that's a big base of our listenership is guys that own an excavation company that is 1 to 10 people strong. Where would you tell them to start?
With technology?
Yeah.
I would say start with a base station and rover. If that's the minimum, start with that.
Yeah.
If they can afford it, definitely get a machine system. The base and rover, I always tell them, makes you more efficient, quicker. But the machine control systems, when you add those, it's when you see the money come in. It's basically getting the work done and being more productive.
Interesting. So then what are your guys doing on the other end of the spectrum that are, let's say, even a big company that's just light years ahead of the curve, kind of leading the charge on technology in the industry and stuff? Where are those guys at? What are they utilizing?
Well, a lot of those guys have been using technology for several years. So they may order a new machine and it's just like automatically we're going to put a machine system on it. Mm-hmm. So it's coming in next week. Go ahead and get us one lined up. We're going to go ahead and get it installed. They just know that every job site that they have, it's going to have technology on it. Some sort of machine control system, whether it be a dozer, excavator. That's primarily the biggest use of machine control system. We got motor grader systems, of course, and scrapers. And you can pretty much put something on any kind of earth-moving equipment that's out there. But for the most part, the minimum is we're going to have a dozer out there on the job site.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, that's cool. That's good to know, like what they're doing. So it's just machine control is the biggest stuff. How has that changed over the years? Machine control and all that.
I would say mostly like the operator interface, just being able to get around on the system, flexibility to do things on the fly if you don't have a model. So all these machine systems, you have to have a 3D surface model. And let's say, if you're out on a site, you need to cut a ditch. You can do that with the systems. You can program in a certain ditch profile, or if you wanted to create a flat pad, you could do that pretty easy with the system. I was going to mention too that, with productivity gains and better efficiency, you can start off a job site on a better foot than you would without technology because you create a 3D model. So a lot of the guys who are in the office, doing the CAD program, they'll look at the model design that the engineer has sent over, and they'll catch things that are on there that you may not catch until like once you started digging dirt or actually building the site. So it's like there's some upfront things that could minimize, days or weeks out on the site that you're trying to remedy that you wouldn't have been able to catch until then. So I think that saves a lot of time and effort. And also you can negotiate, some of these changes beforehand before you get into it, just because you know that it's not going to work, and it makes you a better contractor too when you can catch those things and work with the engineer and the general. They like that. It's like it's going to make them look better.
Yeah, it is. Huh, that's great. Well, to change topic a little bit, tell me about your Dig It Digital GPS stuff. What
Yeah.
all, you got an
So
awesome Instagram page. Tell me all about that.
that's my social media page. I've created that just to kind of get interest going with heavy equipment and moving dirt. I really started it because I was doing these demos and taking videos of the equipment, what we were doing out on site with some of these contractors, and I thought, well, if this guy likes it, I think it should be shared, and other people would probably like it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just started posting content, and little by little, it kind of took off with more videos being shown and just interest of dirt moving. And also thought, this younger generation who's moving up through high school and looking for careers, maybe they might want to come work in the construction industry, and they could see that there's a lot of technology needs. It's not just all hands in the dirt and get dirty, but a technician could work out there and actually work on the computer and build models, or be a surveyor, do layout. I mean, there's just endless opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of it. I love that, man. And you're spreading awareness and getting more interest into stuff. And the videos you post, man, they're really cool. And so that started off just taking demo videos. Is that still most of what those are? Is just demo videos?
Yeah. Or I'll go visit a site. A lot of my videos, it's the contractors that I'm working with, and I showcase things that they're doing out on site, things that I thought would be neat that somebody might want to see.
Yeah.
Or showing off their new piece of equipment. And then recently, for about a year or so, I guess, I've kind of created it as a community. So other people have been sending me content, and I'll share it. So there's interest to see what everybody else is doing around the world. Everybody's moving dirt. So how are they doing it, and what does it look like? What kind of equipment are they using, and what's a day in the life of an operator like?
Yeah. That's the coolest part about the whole social media community thing is once you start posting stuff and people gain interest, then you just make friends on there, and you share back and forth, and you can compare, hey, this is what I'm using. This is what, I'm using. This is the latest and greatest. This is the most efficient, least efficient. Here's all sorts of different opinions and thoughts. And of course it's different depending on where you're at in the world, but it's cool to, it's cool to learn.
And most everybody in this industry, we're all real friendly with each other, and it's not, a big competition.
Yeah.
We're trying to help each other out. Everybody's trying to get their work done, but if we can help, somebody else, it's worth it, because it keeps the industry going.
Yeah. Or if we can gain more interest to come into the industry and show how cool it is. That's the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal.
And that's where young people are now. That they're hanging out on their phones, they're hanging out on social media, so that's probably the place to go to.
Yeah. And that's what I tell a lot of the companies that we work with and stuff is, sure, there's other avenues of marketing, but everybody's on their phones, man. Make it attractive from a cell phone perspective, whether it be social media or your website, but just put out cool stuff and make it attractive for people to scroll through and say, huh, that's cool. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was young, I didn't have any ideas of, what dirt moving was or what utility construction was. I just had to learn it all on my own or read books. But now that you can go online and look at YouTube or Instagram and actually see it, it's like, wow, that might spark somebody's interest.
Yeah. Do you post on YouTube also or just Instagram?
I do have a YouTube channel. I don't post as often on there, but I've been trying to think of creating maybe longer videos, longer content.
Yeah.
Just to have something different that's not
Mhm.
on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
And then I also post on LinkedIn some. That's more professional.
Yeah.
Come see this piece of equipment, or what Trimble is pushing out, something new, something that pertains to my job and my work. Instagram is kind of like the meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Everything works there.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I find hilarious about the different social medias is like, I'll take the same post, the same video, the same picture, and I'll put it Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. And it's like all of those platforms just get totally different reactions. Like a video might get 250,000 views on TikTok and then barely anybody watches it on Instagram and vice versa. It's so funny. And then like LinkedIn, there's times where I'll post something on Instagram and it's like, yeah, it does okay. And then on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, it blows up. And there's times where it blows up on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's like, 2 likes and you're like, huh,
Could be just
weird.
the day of the week. You never know.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of funny.
I think the same thing too. Some of my content I will spend, I'll capture a lot of content out in the field and then work on it at night or on the weekends and come up with some videos, and I'll like just tweak it. No, that's not good enough. I'm gonna tweak it again and add this and that and cut to this and get it all done, upload it. It's like it hardly gets any likes. Like, what's wrong with it? I'm thinking maybe it's not what people want, but then I'll just do something on the fly and send a video and it'll just get thousands of likes.
Yeah.
No edits. I'm like, man, that just saves me time.
Yeah. I've put a lot of effort into certain videos and it's like, it does okay. But my best video on TikTok was a flagger trailer, and an arm coming down and it switching from slow to stop. And the arm was coming down and it was Gandalf's voice saying, "You shall not pass." And it got like a couple 100,000 views. And I was like,
wow.
what is this? I was like, this is a stupid video.
Yeah. Well, what you think may not work, or what you think is not interesting to somebody, it's probably the opposite. Somebody's going to find it interesting.
Yeah. It's
So
like the stuff that you put the most effort into and care the most about, nobody else cares about. And then the shit that you just slap up there is like the one that goes and you're like, what
that's
the
how
heck?
I feel. Yeah. So I try and mix it up. I try not to be too consistent with just maybe dozers and excavators. I want to put trucks out there. I want to put
Mm-hmm.
some utility work, maybe some. We put drone stuff out there that we're highlighting to somebody and showing how they fly around.
Yeah.
Just
Everybody loves drones.
oh yeah, they're so cool. They're big boy toys.
Yeah. How much does a drone in the application you're talking about cost?
Well, it depends. If you
Oh.
want to use photogrammetry, or we have LiDAR drones now too. I mean,
Wow.
so you can start off with a basic drone that takes photos. It's about $8,000. Has GPS built into it. And then we have drones that go over $200,000. That
Holy crap.
they're humongous drones with $120,000, $130,000 payload LiDAR system.
Wow.
It just depends on what you're needing to capture. So,
What is the application of a drone, a $200,000 drone with LiDAR on it?
so that type of drone can cut through trees and vegetation. You wouldn't have to clear the site first in order to get down to the dirt.
Yeah.
So you could actually take measurements through tree leaves and the canopy before you clear it. I mean,
So are
powerful
contractors
information.
using that, or is that like surveyors using that and contractors hiring them?
Both contractors and engineering companies. Contractors who want more information quicker to be able to bid on sites. I mean, moving a lot of dirt, you're talking, over maybe 200-300 acres. If you fly the site and it's off by 6 inches, that could be several 100,000 yards difference.
Wow. That's crazy. I'd love to see one of those up in the air. That would be really neat to see.
And we do have different types of photogrammetry drones. So we do sell, like the quadcopter type drones, and then we have a fixed wing. The fixed wing is really cool because it takes off vertically, and then once it gets to a certain altitude, it levels off and it just glides around the site. I mean, it goes about, 40 mile an hour or so, but real smooth, takes good photos. Then once you get all the photos taken, you land, you can upload it to get it processed online through different services, or you do it yourself on the computer. And so basically you're taking that data and comparing it to the finished proposed surface that you're building. So then the contractors can get like the cut and fills for the site, look to see how much more dirt they got to move, where it needs to move to.
Yeah. Wow.
That's just real valuable information.
Yeah. That's cool. I've seen a lot of that application, the more basic, just kind of basic surveying. A guy I went to college with, actually, he went to work for a company that's all he would do was go to big job sites in Texas and fly his drone over. He'd basically go to 10 job sites in a day and fly it and give them their quantities and move on to the next.
Oh yeah. I've got some guys that that's all they do is they fly drones for their job sites, and they may do a couple a day and upload the data, and they're managing the system. They help their estimators figure out, what the site looks like. And, when this first started coming out, I think the estimators weren't, trusting of the information that was coming from the drone. Yeah. But over time, it's like once they've gone out and flown it, checked the data, they go out on site, use a rover, they check the points that they were shooting. It's like, man, it matches. So now it's like they can't get enough flights in to give them data constantly. It's like that's a full-time job now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been that estimator before. We did that, took drone shots of the stockpiles at the asphalt plant where I work. And the first probably 3 times they did it, everybody was skeptical. How accurate is it really? And so we took shots with the drones and then went out and hand shot all those piles.
Oh, wow.
Which the drone took 30 minutes. Taking hand shots of every one of the stockpiles took like 3 days. So
yeah, now you can see why the drone pays for itself real quick.
Oh, no joke. And you got 3 guys out there climbing piles and
it's dangerous. Not as safe.
Yeah, and it's like the drone does it in no time, and it's off by it's a less than 5% difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so damn close that you're like, yeah. And then you sit there and you go, the drone's probably the dead on and we're 5% off. So it's I'm a firm believer in that stuff now.
Oh yeah. And more and more companies are going to be using drones. So it's an opportunity for somebody to get into that type of job. It's a demanding field. So, if anybody's listening, go get your drone license and go try and find a job.
There you go. There's your $1 million idea. I like what you said too with your social media, how you were like, I was videoing all this stuff anyways. And so I just started sharing it. I wish more people would do that because I know so many contractors that they're on job sites every day, especially like owners of small businesses. They're always taking pictures. They're proud of what they do, videoing. And then it's like, why don't you just share it?
Yeah.
Just post it.
It's advertising. I mean, why would somebody want to hire you as a company, and I've had this brought up before. Somebody's like, well, we just do all public bid work. We're not going after anything. We don't have to advertise. We don't have to, try and get residential type work. I'm thinking, well, you want to attract people to come work for you though, don't you? You want the best operators to come work for you. They're going to interview you before they go and even talk to you about working for you. So you need to look professional.
Yeah. They're going to interview you. That's true, man. Yep. Everybody, what's the first thing anybody does anymore whenever they hear of a company that they can maybe apply for?
They Google you.
Yeah. They Google you or look you up on Instagram anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I do that with several companies I've never heard of before, but I'll look them up and see who they are and what they look like, and it gives me an idea of what type of operation they are, how big they are, what kind of work they do.
Yeah, because if you just have no online presence, or if you have no online presence, you might be the best company in the world, but if you have no online presence and then your competitor across town has even just a fair amount of online presence and they have a website that makes them look good, you might be a way better company, but people are going to go apply for them because they know a little bit more about them.
Yeah. Instagram, the websites and everything, that's the yellow pages of the 2000s. So nobody has the yellow page book anymore. No telephone book sitting on the desk that you can flip through. Before, it was like, if I want to find an excavating contractor, who has the biggest ad, who has photos and information about what type of work they do, that's the person that you would call.
Yeah.
Now it's, let's look them up. And if they have a website, definitely calling them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, most of these people are taking pictures on site anyways. At the very least, they're taking pictures of the site for liability reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well just throw a few of them online.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So what else in the wide world of technology do you have to share on all that? I know we covered a lot.
That's the most of it. Anything that's pertaining to a construction job site and technology, I'm kind of in on that. So even scanners and the software you use to develop the site. For the most part, that's about it.
Yeah.
Lasers.
Do you cover a specific region?
Yeah, so I'm in Georgia. I cover the central part of the state: Atlanta, Athens, Macon, Augusta.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. So if anybody has technology needs, hit up EJ here. Hit him up on the gram.
I do get a lot of questions about technology and how somebody should get started or what system they should use for a specific application or a machine. So, I'm happy to answer questions when I can, if you guys have those.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess moral of a lot of the story is, you could be doing things more efficiently and save you time, which obviously time is money, and save you amount of people you need to do a job with just utilizing just some pretty simple stuff. It may seem like a big expense, but obviously from some of the stories you've told, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah. I feel like if you don't use technology, I think you might be left behind.
Yeah. So I got to wonder, a guy like you, obviously you're passionate about the work we do and stuff. What is your favorite part about this industry?
I would say networking and working with people, helping them. And of course the equipment, watching the equipment work. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Getting on, I'm lucky. Sometimes I can get on the machines and run them for a little bit, polish up some of my skills.
Yeah. Play around. Play in the sandbox.
Oh, yeah. The big sandbox.
What would you say the dirtiest job you've ever had is?
Oh, wow. I would say probably the subdivision we worked in, we had to repipe the manholes and the sewer lines going to sewage ponds.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the manholes was like underground and it was buried and it was full of nasty water.
It was just full.
So we had to bypass it. Yeah, we pumped it all out into another pond. And I mean, I didn't want to get down in it. So I stayed in the machine, you know. But probably one of the other nastiest, or I guess dirtiest jobs was trying to get an oil filter off of an old machine that was stuck on there. And by the time I got that filter off, I was just like drenched in oil. It was horrible.
Went to war, huh?
Yeah. I mean, every day was different. You just had to expect that you would probably get dirty.
Yep. Every day is dirty in this business.
But it makes it interesting because every day is different.
Yeah, it is. That's the beauty of this industry is it's definitely not the same thing twice.
Yeah, and you get to see, you know, the results of your work at the end of the day too. So
yeah, that's what I love about it.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh, absolutely. You get to look back and you're like, wow, that wasn't there earlier.
How about you? Do you have a dirtiest job moment?
Oh, yeah.
You got to tell
absolutely. Yeah. I've got a few, but I think my worst one was whenever I was just a laborer on an asphalt crew, I had to go like in where the asphalt silos were for like the oil tanks. Somebody had left a valve on overnight. And so those oil pits flooded because you have to have a concrete wall around them in case they do overflow or leak or something. It's a containment pit.
Yeah.
So that whole containment pit flooded with about 1 foot of liquid, just raw liquid asphalt oil. And so I was put on the crew tasked with cleaning out that raw liquid asphalt oil. And I mean, that stuff just covers you.
Lucky you. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't just shovel it because it's in the mornings when it was cooler, 75 degrees because it's dead of summer. So it'd start out 75 degrees or so. You could kind of shovel it a little bit. You could break it apart with a sledgehammer or it's not sledgehammer, jackhammer. You kind of jackhammer it out, scoop a little bit out with shovels and stuff like that. But then it would start getting hot. And once it got up to 9,500 degrees, that asphalt oil would just turn back to liquid. And it would just be like shoveling Laffy Taffy.
Slip and slide too, probably.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was. I mean, and we're throwing sand and just stuff on it to cut it, all sorts of asphalt solvents that'll cut that stuff, diesel, just soaking shit down with diesel. Or not diesel. We were not using diesel. No, that's a no. I'm just kidding. But, no, it was just nasty. I mean, shoveling it, trying to get it out of there, you just couldn't. I mean, we tried to take a track hoe into the spots that were a little more open that you weren't going to hit anything and put a blade on it and dig it out. And even that wasn't doing it. And it was just, it was nasty. Just shovel full at a time. Just, you'd have to pry it. You'd have to put something under your shovel and pry it and just get it to peel up and just take this Laffy Taffy chunk and throw it in a loader bucket. And then he'd rush over and dump it in a waste pile. And it was nasty. And every day, like your clothes, I was like, at the time, I just was working for like the summer. So I didn't have company shirts. And I was like, all right, guys, I need company shirts because I'm literally
you're going through too many clothes.
Yeah. And I mean, they were just cheap Hanes shirts from Walmart, but I was going through a shirt a day. And like, then the plant's operator at the time gives me this solvent and he goes, actually before this, I went home and I tried to wash it and I was still living with my parents and my mom's washer and just
Oh
turned it
no.
completely black.
Oh wow.
It didn't wash any of the oil out.
You should probably
And then,
tell you to go to the laundromat from now on.
yeah, well, that's what she said the next time. Well, then I went back to work and I was complaining about it to the plant operator at the time, and he goes, "All right, man, I'm going to give you some like super potent solvent that's going to clean it." He said, "Soak your clothes in this stuff for 2 days. Don't touch them." And he said, "When you pull them out with a pair of tongs. He said, do like," he just kept repeating, "Do not touch this stuff."
Probably eat your
and he's
skin.
like, "Hang them up." Yeah. He's like, "Hang them up, let them dry for completely bone dry." He said, "Then just put some rubber gloves or something on and then wash them." And so I had to do that. And I had to do that a few times. It was a pretty nasty job.
Oh, well, sounds like you graduated from that onto something better.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that a whole lot since then, and I'm very thankful. That was an interesting time.
Yeah, man, I can't imagine. I mean, being coated with oil and fuel is one thing, but yeah, that asphalt is totally different.
Yeah, it just sticks to you. Does its job, I guess, being sticky. But yeah, man, I don't know. I always love hearing people's dirtiest jobs. They're fun to talk about because everybody's gotten into some stuff that's like, man, how did my life get to this point?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's several times I've been so dirty that I'd come home and my wife would open the door and she'd like, "You're going to take all those clothes off out here in the garage. You're not even coming in the house."
Yeah. I can't tell you how many days I would throw my clothes in the bed of the truck, just drive home in my boxers. I've done that. I've done that more times than I can count. It's like, I don't want to get my truck dirtier than it already is. Just throw it in the back.
Yeah, no sense in ruining that.
Yeah. It's funny. There was one time that I thought I was going to get pulled over and I was just wearing my boxers, just driving home. My clothes were in the back. I was like, please don't pull me over.
Oh, no. Yeah, because then you're going to have to explain your story of what happened.
Yeah. "Sir, can you step out of the vehicle? Please don't make me." Oh, funny times. Well, cool, man. I think we got us a podcast. That was informative. So, yeah, I mean, just to sum everything up, I mean, obviously, technology is very useful and a great tool. So, definitely, if you are on the fence about it, or you want to find a way or a place that you can get ahead in the game, then it sounds like there's a lot of technology out there that you can utilize that you may not even know about yet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, get online and look. Search it up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Lots of content out there.
Yeah. I guess I do have one more question. What is AI doing with construction technology?
Oh, I don't know what AI is doing, but I know that autonomy is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So, like, eventually, they want to have more automation on a job site with machines. Somebody may be able to control several machines from a operator station that's off-site, but I would guess that AI could probably help figure out problems or issues that might be in the plans or something that engineer might not have thought about. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what might come of that. If anything, though, I think AI would probably be lagging in construction, just like technology had been in over the past decade, or 50 years or so that we've had this technology. It takes time to adopt it. It definitely isn't something that's going to come and replace anybody's job.
No.
Neither is autonomy. Autonomy is there, but I think it'll help backfill some areas where maybe we don't have the manpower. I mean, we got so many people retiring now that have been doing this work for decades, and we can't backfill those jobs. So autonomy might help.
Yeah. Have you been around autonomous equipment at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Some with dozers, rollers. I've seen a mining operation run autonomously where they have trucks running in a pit, and a loader would come over and load it, back into the loader. It would load it, and then the truck would take off and do its route based on the needs of the hopper. It would tell the truck which one to go to and where to dump. It was pretty cool. They just had a guy in an office running these 4 TV screens and just monitoring everything.
So was it one guy basically controlling all 4 of them?
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess not controlling, but
they had
in charge of?
They had like 2 or 3 trucks running and a loader running. And yeah, he was just kind of watching over it, making sure everything was functioning correctly. And, if anything happened, the truck would just stop.
That's crazy. And I'm sure that so does it mimic truck drivers not paying attention and not pulling up, or?
Not taking off when they honk.
Yeah. Does it mimic that too? Or
I can't remember, but I think it had something to do with the payload system, maybe. So it detected, when the truck was full, then it would take off. But yeah,
that's cool, man. I mean, I guess I haven't heard of it on that sort of a scale. Obviously, I've heard of autonomous equipment. I've heard of, setting a motor grader up to do haul roads, or, a roller doing compaction, just kind of monotonous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize that. I'm not surprised by it, but I didn't realize that there was the capacity to just have one guy basically controlling, hey, you truck go here, you truck go here, you load these trucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
like a minor quarry operation like that. It's more stable every day. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
construction site. Every day is different. You're starting from scratch and you're trying to build something, so it's not predictable. It's not the same type of operation every day. Every day it changes.
Yeah, and I think that that's where autonomy in the long run, because I mean I have guys in my DMs and stuff that are like, I don't want any autonomy in this industry, but there's a lot of monotonous operating jobs where if you're driving a haul truck in a quarry and it's the same road all day, every day, or you're running a loader in a concrete plant or an asphalt plant, you might get tired of that after a while because it's the same stuff every day.
Yeah. I mean, instead of doing that, you could do more complex operation.
Yeah. Stuff that makes you really work your mind.
Yeah.
Huh. Or at least just different scenery at the very least. At the very least, just different scenery.
Yeah.
But I guess some people do like those monotonous jobs, but I think that going forward, I mean, I think that that's good that there is kind of that capacity to do that for whenever a day comes and there's not a lot of people to fill some of these more boring roles.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to work on those machines too. Program them, figure out what's needed with all the technology systems that go on them. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just changing how we go to work every day. Just what type of jobs are available.
Yeah, and I think that the thing to highlight on this is autonomy, or AI, just technology as a whole. It's all just a tool in the tool belt. It's not coming for you. It's not going to replace you. It's just another resource that you can use. And some people may refuse to use any sort of autonomy because they want to employ real people. And props to you if you can continue to do that in the future and be.
There are stubborn people that don't believe in technology, and sometimes the crude comments on my posts, they're like, "Oh, that's GPS. He should be doing it the old school way." I'm just like, it's just another tool in the toolbox. I'm like, the farmers are using tractors. They're not out using mules anymore. They're using technology. What's different about that? Do you mow your grass with the old push reel mower, or are you using a tractor or push mower, gas engine. That's technology.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I talked to guys that were building roads in the 70s, 60s even, and they were saying, dude, we used to haul asphalt in pickups, and we'd have 50 pickups lined up hauling 3 tons of asphalt each. And then, now we got trucks that deliver with 25 tons at a time.
Yeah.
How's that different? And nobody gawked at the time whenever you bring a bigger truck in that can haul 10 tons instead of 3 tons, and then 20 tons instead of 10 tons. Like, no one was sitting there going, oh man, these damn trucks are taking our jobs. It was just, oh, cool, bigger truck.
Yeah, I think it's mostly that they don't understand it. They don't understand how the technology works and how it can help them day to day. I think it's just, if it's unknown, then it might be a threat versus something that can actually improve their work.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time on the show today.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you reaching out to me and actually inviting me. So yeah, I'm glad we got to do it.
Yeah, I'm glad we can make it work. I know our schedules haven't aligned too much lately, so glad we can finally pick a day and just go for it.
That's right.
Cool, man. Well, you got any other final thoughts?
No, I just say do whatever you're passionate about. Get in there and make it happen. Try and learn as much as you can, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That you can't go off and do your own thing. And I'd say if you've got an interest, go chase it.
Yeah, play to your own tune.
Cool. You'll be happier for it, and I think you'd be more successful if you're doing what you want.
Yeah, hell yeah, you will. Well, guys, if you like the show, if you learned something, give us a good 5-star review, share the show. We'd appreciate it. And where can people follow you at?
So I'm under Dig It Digital GPS, either Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. I wish there was just one social media.
Yeah, just one that goes to all. Yeah, I know it. Cool. Well, all the major social media platforms, hit him up. He's on there. Follow us at Dirty and Driven. Guys, thanks for listening.